How do I get DCOSS?
It's no focus. So Guerra Fuego is like the border with Padawan.
Hello. Microphone? Can you hear me? Welcome to the panel session at DCOSS. This time we are going to talk about the possibilities of funding in Europe, in the States, and cooperation with China. We will have Professor Sajad Das, who has been from Montana, has been recently
这边上有点遮住。PPT 在这边。PPT 是。对呀，你把 PPT 在一块儿。
Professor Sajad is going to start the discussion, we'll make a presentation, and afterwards we're going to go to the European representative, then our Chinese representatives, and then afterwards we make some well-open questions. Let's just start with Professor Das, who I know for a long time and is a very fine research. We are happy that he was at the SNF, but we are happy that he comes back to research.
Thanks, Joseph, for the invitation and for inviting me. Can you hear me from the back? Now, when I was asked to talk about the funding opportunities, I already left National Science Foundation. So I'm representing in an informal capacity, not as a formal program director of National Science Foundation. That's one thing. And secondly, since I work in sensor networks, I can talk about what I feel some of the directions that I think the community should be focusing on. And in terms of National Science Foundation in the US, there is not much of international collaboration that is encouraged in terms of, which one can always encourage, but funding does not go outside the country. Let me put it that way. So collaboration can always happen. So I've talked about some of the programs where sensor networks is an integral component. So the title I have given for this one is Network Sensors. I think this is more meaningful and broad than sensor networks, because we are talking about network of sensors. So few things about few at the beginning. It's known to DCOSS community because this particular conference is on sensor networks. So sensing the physical world is the goal, right? And basically what I'm saying over here, we live in a physical world which we need to understand and control. Now, in terms of application, we all know also application in the environmental monitoring, in the civilian application, healthcare, infrastructure monitoring, border security, airport monitoring, everything. So I'm not going into the details of any of this. The next slide that I'll show is also known to everybody, but I have a purpose to give this particular slide. Because the sensor node has communication, sensing and activation, and component. But this is the feedback control loop that is more important, because I'll talk about cyber physical systems, I'll talk about smart environments, where this feedback control loop is very important. So in that way, sensor node is a very miniature version of the cyber physical system. You can see that way. Or you can think the other way, sensor network technology is an integral component of realizing cyber physical system. So that's why I'm actually putting this one here. Now, we also know the emerging trend in sensing is basically smartphone sensing. With the smartphones that we carry nowadays is the most powerful heterogeneous sensor that you can, multimodal sensor that you can think of. It has almost everything. All the scalar sensing, temperature, pressure, humidity, motion sensing. Not only that, it is also a multimedia sensor. You can do texting, you can do audio, and you can also take video. It's a very powerful sensor in that sense. So the new direction, of course, that we think because of smartphones, as well as the advent of multimedia sensors, that sensing is actually more in computation intensive that we have thought in the past. And then, of course, we also know that participatory sensing, social sensing is an integral component of our daily life. Because the smartphone that you carry, you can also participate. There is a notion of persuasive sensing. For example, I can talk about wellness management and healthcare, where I can get a prompt that, okay, today is Wednesday, and I should be doing so much of exercise. I should be taking this type of diet with so much of calories. That's a persuasive part. And the social sensing is also very important because we are connected to social network. So to summarize, basically where we stand in today's world is sensors are everywhere. By sensor, I mean any device which can activate information, process information, make a decision. Camera is also a sensor in that sense. Okay? So what we have is, the premise is over here. I'm not going to read everything because you can embed sensor RFID tags from coffee mugs to Coke cans to your jacket to the smart building and everywhere. So everything is connected, and that's why we put on the Internet of Things. Wireless mobile communication is all pervasive. What is more important is not just this deriving or designing another routing protocol, another MAC protocol. That's of course will be going. But information that you collect is huge on these devices. So information management, developing information model, I think is the new paradigm that you have to think of. Because you think about, you can store all of your life history in a small memory state. The question is how do you access them? What is the paradigm for information management in real time? That's the key. So I think that would be one direction where one should focus on these sensor networks, not just information gathering and doing network protocols. So in that sense, I'll explore few research challenges that I think are important. So from fundamental perspective, how to deal with inherent uncertainty in sensor network is extremely important. And this uncertainty can come from multiple directions. It's much more than just wireless mobile network, because sensing itself could be very uncertain. My battery is going down, and my sensing intensity is low, information accuracy is very low. I cannot make any decision. So, and ramification of that basically is that if the source information is not accurate, anything that I do on top of that, fusion, routing, broadcasting, dissemination, everything of course will be inaccurate. So ramification actually, all these things are coming from sensing, wireless communication, which is a stochastic channel, then you have very resource constant environment. More than that, raw data has no meaning unless you can make intelligent decisions. That means you can recognize the context or the situation. So we talk about context-aware computing, which is the purview of pervasive computing, situation-aware computing. So how to develop information models, mostly semantic models. Think about multimodal sources information that you're getting. The fusion has no meaning. It is not a data fusion anymore. It's semantic fusion. This versus that will build rules and techniques and tools for that. So the question is that if there is a lot of imprecision in the measurement, a lot of noise, how do you exclude a better decision? So that's a higher level construct that one should think. And then higher information assurance is also very important. Quality of the information, which is called information quality. Reliability of the system. What happens if the system fails? Node fails, link fails, in the sense of environment. And then we talk about security and privacy as well. And then when you have multimedia sensing information or streaming information, then developing energy efficient architectures, algorithms, all the standard thing. Anything that you do on sensor network must be energy efficient. So that's the premise that we have. Now, let me just throw a few pictures and then I'll talk about the funding opportunities in terms of sensor network research in US. So sensing, listening, and control, that's the thing. And if you remember, that's the cyclic loop or the feedback control loop that I talked about. So you can think about environmental sensing, not only that you develop smart environments with the feedback control loop. So perceptors of the sensors, they basically collect information for the physical level to the cyber world. You process information, make decisions, and feedback to actuators. And that's the cyber physical system. You can talk about emergency response, you can talk about smart healthcare, and all these things will come when I talk about the CPS of cyber physical system. And this is the sensing system that I'm talking about, social sensing. People-centric sensing, that should be at the individual level, personal sensing, small group and club level, social sensing, output with outsourcing level. Now given that, and that basically takes care of the pervasive computing and social informatics research that is emerging. So social science getting merged with the pervasive computing and network of sensors. Now in terms of funding opportunities at NSF, I'm again talking informally from my understanding of being a program director at NSF. NSF has multiple programs where they support sensor network research, from monitoring to, let's say, healthcare. And I'll talk about a few core programs where there's a funding opportunity. And then at the end, I'll talk about some international collaboration opportunity. So I was a program director in that division, computer and network systems. CNS, that's a core program. Has two components. One is network technology and systems, where sensor network, wireless network, internet, everything is part of it. And another program under it called computer systems research, where you talk about smart environment, pervasive computing, mobile systems. And all of these things, of course, use sensor network, but you are talking about more higher level, system development, applications kind of stuff. So that's the core program that is running all the time. A lot of interdisciplinary collaborations and funding opportunities are there. And if you are coming from US, then you know you apply to all these programs most of the time. So cyber physical system is a cross-cutting program between computer science program, directorate, and the engineering directorate. Okay? And I'll elaborate with one or two slides on that one. Smart health and well-being is another program. So CPA started in 2009. Smart health and well-being, that program started in 2010. It is a program across 3 divisions in computer science directorate. 3 divisions, one is CNS, another is Intelligent Information System, another Computer Communication Foundation. A new one that is launched in 2012 is for Science, Engineering, and Education for Sustainability. That has huge component of sensor network research. And I'll actually elaborate on that in one slide. Sustainability research. And security and trust in cyberspace, also you're monitoring through surveillance, through sensors, so that's another opportunity. These are all cross-cutting programs. And the only program that is truly international is called PIA, Partnership for International Research and Education. And that one actually is open to any countries collaborating with US. One country, more than one country together. And every other program encourages international collaboration. So for example, in my proposal, I can shoot about, let's say, bringing somebody from China or Italy as a team, but the money will never go outside the country of US, but I can bring visitors or the students to the research. That's the way it goes. But the prior one is separate. So let me just give you one slide each for each of these programs, the cyber physical system. So this is an artistic view of the cyber physical system. But as I mentioned, it's an integration of cyber and the physical world, and it's integration of communication, computation, and control. In computer science, mostly we deal with communication, computation, networking. Control, mostly electrical engineering, or other domains, mechanical engineering, depending on the domain size. So this is, and cyber physical systems around in our daily life. You can just think of the flight I took from Los Angeles to Shanghai yesterday was a lot of one. Completely cyber world. The physical system is a Boeing aircraft, that's all. Right? So it is there all the time. And it's a very complex system. pilot and the captain, the ship, they just take control or landing, take off, that's all. Everything else is there. So you can talk about intelligent transportation system. You can talk about energy sustainability, automation. You can talk about smart healthcare, digital infrastructure protection. Smart healthcare, physical system is the human body, but I have a body sensor network to monitor it and collect data, analyze it, mine it, make decision, take an action. So you can just think, it could be engineer system or a physical system like human body. So what it basically means that cyber physical system exploits progressive sensing, communication, computation, and control. That also leads to at the micro level Internet of Things. Okay? So you can see the connection. So this is just an advertisement of our book which came out in February, Securing Cyber Physical Critical Infrastructure by Morgan Program. So this is one example of energy and sustainability. I'll talk about the sustainability initiative that NSA has taken, which is the initiative, $1 billion investment from NSA part of the initiative. So you can think about green buildings, you can talk about green networking, you can talk about climate control, energy management, smart grid, everything's under that. It's a huge initiative. Going very fast. So smart healthcare, health and well-being is another program. So what is a smart environment? So a smart environment basically is one where, again, you can see the component of the cyber physical system. You perceive the environment through senses, you collect a lot of information, reason about it, and take an intelligent action. So that feedback control loop actually makes it very intelligent in cyber physical system. So this was just our definition from our book, which Wikipedia, if you just click smart environments on Wikipedia, there will be the definition from our book and with our references. So smart health and well-being is a program that NSA initiated in 2010. It's a 4-year, second year running. So basically, everything that you can think about how to take advantage of advanced technology, computation, communication, control, sensors, wellness for better health management. Not only just somebody who needs help because somebody has a health problem or elderly person, but even in our daily life, how to keep ourselves more healthy. So that's the initiative. Science, engineering, and education for sustainability I mentioned. So the major goal of that is to solve national and international challenges. And the challenges could be security is important for everybody, every country. So people security, country security, building security, anything that you think of. Healthcare, energy sustainability, extreme event management, disasters. And these are also part of CPS. But at the same time, it's much more. And then on top of that, because of the smartphones that I mentioned, the citizen science, we are integral part. Social science, social networking is part of human in the loop. Because we are interacting with that system now, our physical world, to the social networking. And this whole thing is actually creating a huge synergy in the research area. I'll not read this again slide, but this initiative, this is the first year, NSA initiative. Lots of different small programs are there. Everything has been consolidated. Across all 7 directorates of NSA, every science and engineering discipline, social science is there participating. $1 billion investment. And we can always talk about anybody's interested. Security and trust in cyberspace is another program that has been running for a few years, has changed them. It used to be Cyber Trust, now this is called SATC. And I think I don't have to tell you how important the cybersecurity is, or the security in general. There are some cartoons over there that security and privacy. And this is a movie that people recognize. Facebook is going for IPO right now. So cyber and privacy. So again, I was talking about the flight that I took. Anything that you think around daily life, cyber security important. Every day you are doing lots of credit card, internet purchase, online rituals and everything. It's extremely important. And the massive amount of data that I mentioned, the information paradigm. So big data is another initiative that NSA has taken this year. And of course, understanding the whole universe. Environmental, civilian, military. I have a very simple slide for this one, and I can talk about it. This competition is every 2 years at NSA. And any number of countries can participate with US researchers to compete for this one. This is a quite large scale funding in some sense. Like 3 to 4 million, to 5 million can be actually allocated. in this one, actually, the some funding can also go to international partners. And bilateral funding is not required. I mean, if there's a good collaboration with China, China does not have to fund. If they fund, that's additional. But that's not required. So that's my last slide. So no matter whether there's a money attached to it or not, I think collaboration is fun. And I think we are all here in this room because we are in academics or we are researchers. So collaboration. And without collaboration, something will not come. Okay? And that's it. Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions if you want to make now? No? Or we can make at the end of the panel. I have just a curiosity. On the network program there were director, how much of the projects founded were non-sensor network?
I don't have offhand this number, but I can tell you. So networks, technology and systems we fund wireless network, sensor network, and of course some of them wireless and sensors like the and then regular network as well. But I would say 70 to 80% funding are wireless sensors. Right? So I don't have the exact division between wireless, mobile, like cellular versus or wireless mesh versus sensor. But it's huge. For example, I used to run 3 to 4 panels every year on the sensor network. Right? And it got a number of the wireless network. So in the next program, network technology system, a major component goes into wireless sensors. So because the whole community is
And last thing, did they find a new replacement for it?
oh yeah, they have a person from somebody ran from the
Okay. No, we changed over. We're talking a bit about research proceedings in Europe. And I have to explain that our invite was supposed to talk to PA Sky. He's a senior project officer in Europe, but he could not make it, and he sent his slides. Today's a holiday in Belgium, and Professor Luis Almeida will replace him, commenting on the slides. I just want to tell you that it's a pity because he was responsible for the so-called FAR program, Future Internet Research Environment. And there are many possibilities of international cooperation, including a call that's coming in June, where is a call where Chinese partners are very welcome and financed by you. But please welcome the Almeida.
I'm sorry, I apologize for not being the author and for not being completely knowledgeable about what I'm going to talk about. So normally we should try to avoid the situations in which we talk about what we don't know. But anyway, I will do my best to give you some information and convey the main topics that are in these slides. So these slides were done by George Pereira. You see his face over there so that you know who the person is. We met already several years ago when he was actually a project officer in the Embedded Systems Unit in the European Union and the European Commission. And in that time he was very active in that particular area, embedded systems. And then the Embedded Systems Unit in the European Community somehow was, let's say, converted. So it was essentially moved out of the European Commission and it went to Artemis or Artemisia. Inside the European Community, it was absorbed by other areas. And in particular, George went to this area in which it is one of the responsibles for this initiative called FIRE. FIRE is the Future Internet Research and Experimentation. And the main emphasis is exactly on experimentation. So it's not anymore theoretical exercises or theoretical studies on networking, it's actual experimentation. That's what the community is particularly interested at the moment. Let's see is just to say that I think that he was trying to say in this slide that DCOSS is actually, and in this event also with the post-conference workshops and tomorrow, it's pretty much related to the topics at FIRE. So he was just probably trying to convey the message that everybody here in some way is working in issues that are relevant for this initiative, right? So the focus is essentially, as he says down there, on large-scale deployments, the operation and management thereof, and ultimately user-driven applications running on top of shared infrastructure. So the purpose of this initiative is, as I told you, to develop these large systems and somehow make them also available for experimentation. It reminds me of the big laboratories that were at some point developed and built that were then shared by scientists that would come from all over the world to do experimentation. So it's a little bit let's say the idea of these projects. So a little bit more on this initiative. So investigating and experimenting new paradigms related to the internet. Of course, it has internet in the name. It is going in exactly the same direction as this Internet of Things that we have learned. But this is, let's say, encompassing everything. So it's basically Internet of Things, cyber-physical systems as well, network monitoring control. So it puts everything there into the same bag. So it's also, as you see over there, it's an empirical approach, which means that it's really aiming at experimentation. So, as they say there, involving the creation of open experimental facilities in key research areas, extending networking to the real world, assuring a credible link between the physical reality and associated data processing. So these are basically just different ways of saying exactly what I said before. So about the upcoming calls, what are the main issues about these, the calls that are basically the opportunities for funding that we are talking about? So the main aim is to support new test facilities, particularly in areas not yet covered by existing ones, and extend most successful facilities. So we will see in the further on some examples of existing facilities which were created by previous projects, and the idea will be to exploit these facilities and also to create new facilities that are not, let's say, covered by those ones. Conduct multidisciplinary research exploiting the existing facilities, so those that exist already, aiming at optimizing the benefits for the citizens, including ethical and sustainability aspects. So going into the same direction as we heard in the previous talk, to social networking as well. So making this connection between not only the environment but also the people that live in the environment. And then, of course, there's also another and also to develop projects. This is just a comment that that's very important. So these big projects, in order to create these new infrastructures, they must include a clause in which they must open calls for sub-projects in order to allow for experimentation. So to allow, let's say, groups to do experimentation on top of these facilities, right? So there are big projects to build big facilities, and then these projects must open their smaller calls in order to allow for experiments on top of these facilities. And this is exactly the idea. All right, this is just a couple of slides about some existing facilities, some projects. Maybe I should tell you that the first FIRE projects were approved in 2008. So 2008 was the start of this program. Then in 2010 there was a second call, and there was a third call just by the end of last year. And the deadline was on 17th January this year already. So this was the third call. So this is one of the existing facilities already, one project that was created, I don't know if maybe in the first call or second, I'm not sure. It's called Smart Santander. It's the second call, right? So 2010. So Smart Santander, and it involves different places, different cities in this particular case. And the target is exactly to build sensor, in this particular case, wireless sensor networks for controlling the environment, monitoring traffic, monitoring even parking information for citizens as well. And this is going to be provided across several cities in Europe, so from Belgrade, Guildford, Lübeck, and Santander. So going from Serbia to Germany. Guildford is United Kingdom, probably. I'm not really sure, or Ireland. I'm not really sure where it is. And then Lübeck, Germany, and Santander is Spain. And it's going to exploit a large variability of technology, so integrating a lot of technology. I don't know if probably you can help at some point with some more details on these projects if you know some of them, because I'm not really aware with them. This is another one which was also supported by FIRE, so WISE-FED. And in this case, it aims at providing a multi-level infrastructure of interconnected testbeds of large-scale wireless sensor networks for research purposes. So the idea of this project is to interconnect large wireless sensor networks. So we're not talking about the wireless sensor network itself. We are talking about putting many wireless sensor networks together. So that's basically this. This is the main purpose of this project. And then there are a few other projects that are also relevant, but they are not FIRE projects.
For the, if I can compliment for the WISE-FED, is came from the first call and is also open access. So if somebody has a program and wants to test with sensors and so, they can. It's a free access, not open access. So we have to ask authorization to the manager, but anybody can use it.
It's a very important point. It's exactly what I was saying that was in one of the previous slides, that these projects must be open. So they must create infrastructure that are open for experimentation for others, right? So this is very good because if you are developing some protocols, some studies, and you would like to experiment on a real platform, then these platforms are available. Of course, under certain conditions, but that's natural, right? These are some non-FIRE infrastructures or facilities. I don't know how they are here because they are somehow related, and I don't know how they will somehow be integrated, but I think at some point there will be some connection here because they are pretty much related. This in particular is a network of excellence that was started in the European community in Framework Program 7, and it's ending now the first I don't know if it will be continuing or not, because I have no information at this moment. And it's focused on the cooperating objects. So it's basically not only wireless sensor networks, but of course wireless sensor networks, but putting together more like these sensor networking networks and objects that interact with each other in order to come up with new goals. So there are some existing test beds that are also in some conditions available for experimentation, or at least it would be. Another one is this Gen Z and CLAM. So these are two other non-FIRE wireless sensor network big projects. So one of them, Gen Z, is it aims at the structural health monitoring. So structural health monitoring not only of buildings, but also the bridges and big constructions. And of course, it has its very let's say focused constraints, and in this particular case, the main target is focusing on these sensors that should last for a lifetime, basically. So these sensors will never be somehow replaced or recharged, and so there is some experimentation in this particular case. And CLAM is focusing more on collaborative embedded monitoring and control platforms for underwater sensor networks. So CLAM is focusing on surveillance of, for example, sea or some underwater, maybe rivers, also some underwater environments. Okay, and I think this is all. So as far as I remember, so I cannot, answer many questions about it because I don't know much. There will be some open calls in the future. I would just suggest that you take note of that, or if you just go to Fortis and then you put FIRE in there, and then you will be taken to this webpage of the FIRE initiative, And in the FIRE initiative, it not only says what it is about, and it gives you all the information about previous projects, existing infrastructures, and also open calls. And so I would really invite you to do this. There are in some cases some open calls for specific collaborations with some countries. I know that there have been there's this call that you just referred for collaboration with China. I remember that there are frequent calls for collaboration with Brazil as well, and India. And so there are some specific calls for some cases, but in other cases anyway, these infrastructures, sometimes they are open for participation from groups of researchers from different countries as well. Okay. So if you have any question that I could somehow try to answer, or maybe you can also ask me an answer.
Thank you very much. I would like to compliment that there, for the European Union, there are some countries that are called in-cooperation countries, which are countries that can participate in the European projects. The European project usually is a set of 5 to 6 countries, and these in-cooperation countries very often can participate. This is China is one in-cooperation country, and Canada I think also is, and Brazil is also. There is a bilateral calls between European Union and China. In June, for June, there is a new call for the FAR, where China is not a bilateral, but China can participate. Now, for the next panelist, I would like to invite Yang, who will talk about opportunities in China. There's something coming, but we have the pleasure of a translator.
Yeah, so I'll be his voice after he tells us things in Chinese. So maybe let me introduce a little bit about what he will say. He is actually from Zhejiang University, the Human Resource. He actually going to tell us a little bit about China's new program to attract intelligent, talent people around the world. So in case you want to work in China, maybe what he's going to tell you will be useful. Welcome everyone to Zhejiang University. Here I'd like to introduce you about the program of Zhejiang University to attract, invite talented.
那么浙江大学是成立1987年，中国最早的高等学校之一，目前是中国就是整个建设世界都该属大学的这个职业区域。
So Zhejiang University was founded in 1897, and the goal of Zhejiang University is want to be recognized as one of the top university across the world.
学校呢是我们学校有5个校区，这个学科门类分布了12个大学，现在的校长是我们2位教授。
So Zhejiang University have 5 campuses and have 12 big category for research. It's a little bit awkward to translate sometimes between Chinese and English, so excuse me if I fumble a little bit.
新引进的一些岗位。
So he will focus on the positions that will be the opening positions in Zhejiang University.
首先是介绍一下前置的岗位。现在国家的这个海外高等人才引进岗位是千人计划，还有千人计划正在为专门的为专千人计划项目，还有教育部的产江局的特聘教授，这些项目都是国家设立的。那么所有就是是在海内外包括卫计都可以申报。
So first, I'd like to introduce the full-time position. So there's a few full-time position opening, and actually those full-time position is offered by the Chinese government, including the expert from foreigner. So if I translate literally, it means 1,000 people program, and the qualified people to apply will be anyone that in the research, well-established researchers.
国家还有这个海外高等人才，就是青年计划。还那个我们自己学校的求助特聘学者岗位。
So another one is from the Chinese government as well. The program is called 1,000 Young Talent Program, and also there's one position offered by Zhejiang University. It's called 求是 Special Perm Scholar.
浙江省的也有那个为海外高等人才、创新人才长期项目，包括外专青人，浙江省设立的一些岗位。
There's also one category that's offered by Zhejiang province. I guess you can read.
那么我们学校的设立的前置的一些岗位，那么这个不同的城市是教授、副教授、讲师、特聘研究员、博士后研究岗位。
So the full-time position include professor level, assistant professor level, lecturer, research professor, as well as postdoc.
因为就是劳动他们的一些非前置的岗位，那么也有国家的，也有学校的，国家的就是千人计划的短期项目，还有国家的高端外国专家项目，还有教育部的产江学者讲教授。
So in the second category is the non-full-time position. It includes the national level, the short-term visit, also 1,000 talent program, or it's called short-term innovative talent, also including the Ministry of Educational the Changjiang Scholar, chair professor level.
浙江省也设立了就是短期的一些项目，海外计划。
In Zhejiang province, also there is a position called Haiou Plan or Seagull program. So I think the program is a short term, so you can visit maybe China for up to 3 months, and you need to stay in China for 3 months, and for the rest 9 months you can stay in your own country.
那么浙江大学也有设立一些求是讲座教授，还有未来基金设立的讲座教授，学校每年申报一次，每年评审一次，每年聘大家就是宿舍委员为大学的副教授上来把学校的短期工作。
So Zhejiang University also offered the short-term position. It's the chair professor called, it's called 求是 chair professor. It's open to faculty members abroad, at least at the rank of associate professor and up. Thank you, everyone.
如果要详细的这些岗位的一些条件，以及它基本的待遇，那么英文的一个可以发给大家。
If you want to know details, if you are interested, there's English material, and he can send you by emails.
Thank you. Can I ask something? Is that for the visiting professors here and short-term professors, the salary is compatible with the cost of living here? Can you ask?
何老师，问题是如果是有来访问的那个教授啊，那个他们的就是说工资啊，是不是可以在中国存活下去？
没什么问题，
No problem, definitely.
还可以有一些建议吧。
So, besides surviving in China, you will have some extra so you can spare.
Okay. Somebody has some question?
Professor Lu, do you have anything you want to add? 陆老师，你需要
我讲中文还是讲英文？讲英文讲的不是很流畅。
随便你。I'm just asking whether he wants to present in Chinese. Yes. Would you?
老师呀，
So Professor Lu is with the Department of Computer Science in Zhejiang University. He's a full professor. His actually research area is sensor networks. He has built quite a few, lead a few projects to develop sensor networks in a historical place, try to preserve environment, doing like a microclimate monitoring.
I just follow the question from this professor. Zhejiang University is now set up a lot of a project to attract very foreign researchers into Zhejiang universities. We have several levels of projects. First of all, if a full-time professor in your university, if you have interest in come to Zhejiang University, maybe every month, maybe we can provide 30,000 to 50,000 per month. Yes, if you here. We also will offer.
It sounds very interesting.
We will offer a apartment for you to stay. Yes, inside our campus. Yes. So if you are only as an associate professor, maybe the level is a little bit lower, maybe 20,000 to 30,000 per month. Now in China, we have enough money to pay for your research or for work country in China. Besides this, we also, and Zhejiang University also very to encourage our faculty member to set up some cooperation with all our members. Maybe if you have interest in maybe to provide some monies, just to pay, maybe just to pay the money fees for a trip. If we are interested, for example, if we are interested in our work, maybe 10 university will maybe for maybe 20,000 monies, with 10,000 for the trip fee, and that's for your reviewing years. So just because as described as Professor Ho, Zhejiang University now is maybe the first level university in China. So we were just to promote the cooperation for our youth. So if we were just stay here to attend the dinner, we all want us, if you are interested to set a cooperation with Zhejiang universities, we can be involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation about everybody. Anybody has a question from anybody here interested in any program of European, Chinese, or American? Yes, thank you.
So So actually I have a question. So this question is for Sajad Das. Since I'm actually, now I live in US. I'm very interested in the NSF program. I had an impression that if I submit okay, so there's a phone on the desk. Who's lost the phone? If no one claim, I will claim it. iPhone, an iPhone. Okay, so let me come back to my question. So I got the impression if I submit a proposal focused on sensor networks and nothing else, then the chances to get funded is almost like 0%. So can you make comments on that?
I don't know why you got that impression, because see, NSF supports fundamental research as long as you have innovative research. If it is an incremental, then NSF or the review panel is not excited, right? If you can get breakthroughs, if it is transformative research, then it doesn't even, let's say, a lot of research is funded on the internet, research is funded on cellular, wireless LAN, as well as sensor networks. So if you think about 5 years ago, of course, a lot of investment was on sensor networks, but that was just at the beginning, maybe 5-10 years ago. But right now, if you do excellent increment, so it is not like sensor network is blacklisted. What is blacklisted is incremental work. Right? As long as you have innovation, if you just go on, NSF, everything is public, right? Transparent, everything in the award. You just go on and see how many sensor network proposals have been funded last year, you'll be surprised.
I see. So a follow-up question is, I know NSF support fundamental research, but when we deal with sensor networks, there's a lot of engineering problem we have to solve before we can get into the real, like, theoretical work, especially if we want to build a system to verify it. So what is NSF's altitude towards like engineering?
So in general, that's a good question. So there's some specific program where you develop system like fire. We have the Genie. In the US we have the Genie, right? The GEMI. I think it also in US or so that's also an experimental platform. And Genie is not only just internet, it also has wireless and sensor components. And I'm sure many of you know the part of the Genie. Right? So barring those experimental platforms on the system research, it is completely engineering exercise. NSF is not excited because feeling is that if industry can do, then why should NSF spend taxpayers' money to the university? There are major research instrumentation programs. There is a curriculum research infrastructure, CLI, MRI. They are, of course, development stuff involved. But in the core program, interdisciplinary program, the bottom line is that it must have a research component. If you just build a system, then specific programs. Right? So as long as it is innovative, even in sensor networks, as I was pointing out at the beginning, before going to the funding slides, a lot of challenges are there that we are not tackling. We don't have information models, for example, very good models. We do not understand many of the inherent uncertainty that is capturing, right? Information theory based or otherwise. We do not understand many of the information accuracy model. For example, physical where you know by entropy measure what it means, right? When we talk about higher level context representation, situation representation, we don't even know exactly what the world have. So if one can talk about fundamental research from that perspective,
What about the bureaucracy for applying in Europe is all?
No, yeah, Europe I understand, because you have to build a huge team and you spend 75% of your time in managing the team. Right. NSF does not have that kind. For example, NSF has, in the core program, there are 3 levels of application. One is small, under 500,000, $500,000. Single PI, couple of PIs. The medium level, which is 1.2 million range, again, like 2-3 PIs, maybe 1 or 2 institutes is fine. Large, which is up to 3 million, again, 1 or 2 institutes, you don't have to go for that much. But then if you go for very large, like expeditions in computing, which is like 10 million for 5 years, then large team. It's not much bureaucracy, but it's a large team, right? You talk about engineering research center, science and technology center of excellence, and of course it will be large team. But NSF in general is quite transparent. And so when I was at POI, on the other side of the table, I had one impression how NSF works. Now I work on the other side of the table. NSF is very proud that it is the only federal agency in the US which is so transparent. Now it doesn't mean that everybody is happy. If your proposal does not go through, you are unhappy. But
what about the selection process?
Selection process, again, very democratic. So for example, as a program director, my job is to basically set up 2 panel review panels with certain proposals in that similar themes, right? Then you bring experts from the community, from academics, from industry, even sometimes international. And they deliberate, so they review each proposal beforehand, before coming to the subject. They submit the reviews and they physically come to NSF premise for 2 days or 3 days, depending on the nature of the panel, and then deliberate on each of every proposal openly, and then they make a recommendation. So that's the way it works. So, they have to, so each proposal is reviewed by 3 to 4 reviewers, and they meet in person, they mitigate any discrepancy of their understanding openly, and they make a recommendation, then the program director takes up from there. That's it.
So how about Europe? How is the review process?
It's also different either, but there's a small difference is that the officer is responsible for finding the evaluators. These 4 evaluators. Sent to these 3 or 4 evaluators, and then there is might be or not be the panel, but there is something called consensus decision. If the 2 of them or 4 of them agree on one decision, then there is no need to meet. It's quite fast. It's in 1 month you know the result of our solution. But afterwards, then there is something that they call negotiation procedure, which is is bureaucratic. It's very easy, but bureaucratic. It takes a long time.
And it's also not much bureaucratic. So that is whatever you want, you don't get sometimes, right? So basically, that's a negotiation.
Negotiation. Financial negotiation.
That's what it is.
Budget. But yeah, anybody in US to work for NSF proposals with innovative ideas, you can always ask for international collaborator, maybe a visit exchange, student exchange, those kind of things are okay. But money has to stay.
So I have one more question.
So maybe as somebody in the U.S., but maybe not with your NSF connections, but just as generally somebody from the U.S. with experience. Sorry. As somebody from the U.S. with experience applying for U.S. funding, say from other agencies besides the NSF, since NSF has limited opportunities for international collaboration. Could you speak a bit about other agencies which might have other opportunities for international collaboration within the U.S.?
So let me take back the first. I said that NSF always encourages international collaboration. Only thing is that unless it's a bilateral cooperation with an MOU, money does not go outside the country. So if it doesn't go out, then of course it's more like a collaboration for the passion. You can bring a visitor to support, you can bring a student to do a collaboration. That's what I'm saying. It's not like extraction goes out. Other agencies like Department of Defense, they have some other ways. Here, under Department of Defense, you have DACA, you have Office of Naval Research, ONR, you have Air Force Office of Scientific Research. They do have some mandate in some sense. For example, there's a European Office of Air Force Office, EOARD, European Office of Air Force Research Division. There's an office in Japan as well. Right? So sometimes what happens, see, NSF does not have a customer. Customers are what? All the academicians, researchers, you produce paper, you build, support students, you build workforce. So there is no customer. But defense has customer, right? Because they build aircrafts for warfare, they have all sorts of things, right? And they sell those things to other countries. So you can see that why collaboration is essential for them. If you're investing, let's say, so many F-16 to India, India says, okay, invest 5% into basic research in our country. That's why the collaboration happens there. Similarly, Airbus, I have funding from EADS, who builds Airbus. I have funding, I'm from US. So So what I'm saying, it could be part of the deal because EADS has an academic office. They're trying to do business not only just in the commercial aircraft but also on the defense side because Airbus does, EADS does lots of different stuff. Because that's the European air space and defense organization, right? So that's why. So every organization has a different mission. So for example, in US NIH, National Institute of Health, they are part of the Human and Health Services portfolio. Department of Energy is part of the energy portfolio in the Congress. Defense is part of the defense portfolio. NSA is not included under the portfolio, it's under the White House. So our NSA, I'm still saying our because I was not NSA not too long ago. NSA director reports to the President of the country. Everybody else, they'll report to whoever is in charge of that portfolio. So that's why it's different. But fact of the matter is in computer science, in the last 5 years, more than 82% of the research in the academic community in the US has been supported by NSA. More than 80%. You can just think that all other agencies together, they form more than 20%. So academic research still heavily depends on NSA funding. That's why the success rate is also very low.
What about the situation in Canada? For the two of you, even.
Situation in Canada?
Better.
Getting worse in general, getting more political. We actually, in general Canada, we had excellent basic research funding, which was very democratic, so many professors will get lower amounts of money. That was enough for attend conferences, chaos, one student, etc. But that funding was being reduced, and this year, latest news is getting to be drastically reduced. So what they are doing is they are taking this money to something called industry collaboration with industry, which means short-term transfer of knowledge on paper at least, and practice that's another story what happens behind. So that's in general not going in the right direction. Now, in terms of collaboration, it's similar to what Sir Charles said. There are few programs which are real collaboration, but they are inked with Japan and not sure with others. Europe is also just
Because that's the cooperation agreement.
yes, so something like that. So I guess that's about from what I know. Maybe you know more. Did I miss something?
For the federal funding within Canada, I think you got it off. Within Quebec, we have a few opportunities for more international collaboration. For example, they're really encouraging collaboration specifically with China, with India, Brazil, France, because of the obvious language connections, and other specific countries or states within the US. So California, for example, is on that list too. But that funding is very competitive, I guess, and very, very tough to go for, unless you have a very strong established collaboration, is my understanding of it.
So let me just one, I have to do the wrong impression. So NSF has a full office of Office of International Science and Engineering, OISC. So they do encourage that, but as I said, like mostly the funding is exchange of visits, organizing a workshop together, so that you bring the community together. Right? Having said that, computer science initiated in the last few years few collaboration with Japan. With Japan, it's mostly with the GD related stuff. And then last year when tsunami and earthquake hit Japan, there were a few collaborative funding to basically develop the technology for the future. When I was there, I initiated one program, bilateral program with India on progressive computing and communication collaboration called PC3. And that materialized, so funding came from both sides. But I do not know whether that should continue or not. This is like 2-3 years funding that we just started. In Finland, NSF also has one on the dynamic spectral management in computer science and engineering. So these are pieces, but mostly if it is bilateral, then it's much easier because then there is stake from both sides. And I know NSF and EU has been trying to do, the MOU is there in paper with most of the other countries. NSF has office in Paris, has office in Beijing, has office in Tokyo, for example. Right? So, but again, a real dollars or euros that you talk about.
Stays in Canada.
That's it. But OIAC is their official international site.
I remember that for a while when this CPS term was coined, it was by Ellen Gill, as I remember, and she was pushing a lot together with Alkis Consultants at the time to do this US EU cooperation. So there were a lot of meetings and seminars to promote collaborative projects and work. And actually, I think some collaborative projects were successful, but not so many. Because the idea was exactly as you said, but the projects had to be submitted on the two different sides, and then they would have to be hopeful that the other side would be approved as well in order to have its own funding. But I'm actually, I have an example of success with the project. It was an Artemis project. It was not exactly within directly within the EU. And this Artemis project was initially with UPenn, but then it was a person that was involved in the project went from UPenn to Waterloo, and then actually we did the collaboration with Canada. So he got funding from Canada to participate in the project, and we had a project with this participation, and so it worked very nicely. But I think that we were lucky. But just to say that it's possible, and sometimes it works.
Yeah, if two government agencies they agree, there is much to get.
It's also true in Europe that the trend is also, like you were saying, it's much more towards applied research and much more towards collaboration with industry, a lot. And if we want to do fundamental research, then it's probably outside the European Commission, and it's more toward the ERC, the European Research Council. So if we want to do fundamental research, then we should apply to these grants that they have, and not so much within the community. Within the community, they're definitely moving towards more applied research. And then they created these joint undertakings like Artemis, which are really towards collaboration with industry. So they should be industry-driven projects, basically.
Okay, thank you very much. But we'll have to finish the panel now, because there's another session coming afterwards. And now we'll have a short break of only 5 minutes. Thank you very much for everybody participating.
So who wrote it? Or who wrote it all? You wrote it. No, for us, student name, student who did the project, that student writes and advisors always do it. Unless there's like collaborative, where the research was dispersed, and then the institution that collaborates advise, create stuff, they go search. The research will do the work over. Author is the person who wrote this person implemented it, but it is writing. So it's a prompt. All the keep out the since we do write my own paper. I'm not very good at collaborate or being collaborative by writing papers. I if my own lecture, she might always it doesn't say quite say what I want. But if you change it, it doesn't matter because I never make connections. So my paper is structured. When you read it, you go back and forth. And if another person doesn't understand because it's more important. So when I write a paper, for a week, I sit in my lab alone, and nobody's talking. Change the paper, give it to everybody, and say, oh, this is change it. They tell me change it. Just looking at these like and then very young where they I wrote all my written examination. The paper is my written examination. I wrote it in a week. My problem was the research. I spent like a month thinking like, how should I prove this? How should I prove this? Stuff like that. I think I spent more time writing. I remember I had almost all my formulations. And my do that was quick. Oh, right. Because I sit down and start writing, and then I'm thinking like a story. Everything I say is a story. Writing is my problem is getting equipment. Our lab, it's okay, but my advice was if it's not. It's just and I've been pushing for this cognitive sense stuff already. So we can like, and then like, how can I publish a paper with theoretical work? Are there so many topics like I need this to do that. Yeah, but there is and then it's okay. The power developed by this student doesn't apply to grant. It gives them money away. It's international education, so they cost 3 times as much. So they're looking for a student who wants to buy it. Like on a semi basis, so he likes to see me. I love you simulate first. That's why my paper doesn't essential, but mostly theorem. Simple theorem.
是，你这么按。